Remember how we used the type function when checking what type a certain variable was? Let's do that again now. When we use the type function, as we just did here, Python tells us which class the value or variable belongs to. And since this is a class, it has a bunch of attributes and methods associated with it. Let's take the string class for an example. In this case, the only attribute is the contents of the string. What about the methods? Well, in earlier videos, we looked at a bunch of methods provided by the string class, like upper, to create an uppercase version of the string, or isnumeric, which checks whether or not the contents are all numeric. Each string we've used in Python up to now has been a different instance of the string class. They all had the same methods, but the contents were different. This meant that the result of calling those methods was different also. You can get your computer to list all the attributes and methods in a class. To do that, just use the dir function. This gets the interpreter to print to the screen a list of all the attributes and methods. Whoa, that's a lot of items. Let's break this down a little bit so we all understand what's going on. The first bunch here are special methods that begin and end with double underscores. These methods aren't usually called by those weird names. Instead, they're called by some of the internal Python functions. For example, the __len___ method is called by the len function that we've used before to find out the length of a string. Or the __ge___ method is used to compare if one string is greater than or equal to another when using the greater than or equal to operator. After the special methods, we see a lot of string methods that we've already come across. This list gives the names of all the methods, but it doesn't tell us how we can use them. There's a different function to tell us that, which is called help. Let's give that one a go. When we use the help function on any variable or value, we're shown all the documentation for the corresponding class. In this case, we're looking at the documentation for the str class, the class of the string object. As before, it starts with the special method. If we scroll down, we reach the ones we've already seen. We can see the documentation for a bunch of methods, and it tells us the parameters that method receives and the type of return value. It also includes an explanation of what the method does. For the count method, we can see that it receives the substring that will be counted, and it has optional start and end arguments to indicate which slice of the string would be looked at. We know they're optional because they're written between square brackets. In general, being able to read and understand a method's documentation is super important when you're writing your own code. Using the dir and help functions puts all the documentation right at your fingertips. This makes it so much easier to figure out how to use something for the first time. When you're done looking at documentation, you can just type Q to quit. Python comes with a lot of classes already predefined for us, which is super useful. But the power of object-oriented programming is that we can also define our own classes with their own attributes and methods. While you might not need to do this when writing a simple script, as your programs grow in complexity, object-oriented programming will help you get the most out of the language. And that includes being able to define your own classes. Up next, we'll dive into how to write our own class definitions with their own attributes and methods. Let's get to it.